Last night, the world's most notorious hacking group pushed out this ominous tweet. You've got to take a look at this. Here it is, quote, "Wonder if tomorrow is going to be bad for Wall Street. We can only hope." That was from Anonymous. And this morning, major symbols of American capitalism did indeed have a very bad day. First, United Airlines shuts down, we're talking 35,000 grounded planes because of a computer glitch. And then the traders on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, they were shut off from their trading systems by a mysterious system. We still don't know what happened, but everything down there just stopped working. And then later, a website issue hampered employees and users of the Wall Street Journal. United Airlines, New York Stock Exchange, Wall Street Journal, these coincidences could not have come at a worse time for investors in the midst of a global economic turmoil and yet another major down day for stocks. Now, I get that China, Greece, at this moment, they loom larger. But if these cyber incidences are more than just a coincidence, if they're coordinated, if they're connected, this becomes the biggest story of the year. And we've got all the bases and angles covered for you with very powerful guests tonight. I'm Charles Payne, and this is a Fox Business Special Report. Let me introduce you to the panel, starting us off right out the gate. Our experts on the markets, Hillary Kramer, A&G Capital CIO and President, Tammy Bruce, Fox News political contributor. Joining us from Boston, Peter Tran, Senior Director for RSA Worldwide Advanced Cyber Defense. And joining us from Los Angeles, Kurt Knudsen. He's the cyber guy. Nice to see all of you. And Kurt, I'll start with you. Hey, we've had 3 events, right? Okay, all cyber issues, all automation issues. It seems very odd to me, and it's hard for me to believe that these are coincidences. What's your take?
Right. What's in the air today, right, Charles? I'm talking about what would appear to be a coordinated attack on the infrastructure technically in these 3 big institutions. But the fact is, still, official word says no. There was no sort of hacker that did any of this. It was not a malicious thing. That these are just unrelated glitches that just coincidentally happened all at one time. Beginning this morning, you know, NYSE, the stock exchange this morning, even before trading opened, they had a little bit of a glitch that we learned about later. And the director of the floor there, Art Cashin, he came out later and said, well, earlier this morning, before we stopped trading, we did have a little bit of a technical glitch, and they didn't report it then. But after the New York Stock Exchange decided to stop trading, and that was at 11:32 a.m. this morning Eastern Time, right. Boy, did the world wake up to this. And that was him saying at that point, all right, we're shutting down trading, we're suspending it. Now, this is the first time, the first time in, I'm thinking since 2013. It might have happened before, but August 2013, remember, there was a technical glitch that shut it down before that. And then it's otherwise, it's world events that have shut down the stock exchange no more than 7 times in the history of the exchange since, I believe, 1817.
And the
so
point,
finally,
though,
they started to recognize they had it.
And it wasn't just, Kurt, the New York Stock Exchange. In fact, it began with United Airlines with some sort of incredible glitch that somehow kept all 35,000 planes grounded there. But I want to take everyone back before today. At the beginning of the week, major news in your industry, the cyber industry, and I think it was best described in Wired magazine. Here's a quote from them. Few news events can unleash more schadenfreude within the security community than watching a notorious firm of hackers for hire become a hack target themselves. They are talking about the firm out of Milan. They're for hire. They're considered corporatists. They work for corporations and government. And Peters, I want to go to you. Many were thrilled to see that these corporate for hire elitists, if you will, were themselves hacked. Really, this is what Wired said, that they were decimated, that they were disemboweled. I kind of connect the dots to that, to these other corporations, large, big, well-known corporations, all being targeted this week.
Well, first off, I'd like to play a little word association. When you hear planes grounded, stock exchange halted, Wall Street Journal offline, what comes to mind?
9/11.
For me as a security professional,
9/11. Yeah.
Hack. Okay, so we at RSA go beyond the association and prepare and think about the unthinkable. So if we look at this from a multi-threaded attack perspective, potentially you're talking about an ecosystem that is far beyond what we can think about. It makes Chernobyl look like Disneyland, right? So hackers are running things like a business. So what we fail to realize...
Before we talk about that part, Peter, let's do this, because, again, I don't know that everyone watching the show understands how dramatic the events were today. And help me understand the timeline of these events. You talked about the key words and the word associations. It begins with an airline. United Airlines, before the market opens, somehow mysteriously a major glitch forces them to keep all of their planes on the ground. And this lasted for a fair amount of time. Then into the trading session, the first thing we heard from Nicole Pantelidis was that 220 stocks weren't trading. To Kurt's point, mysteriously, initially there were 220 stocks that for whatever reason, they weren't trading. And then not long after that, the entire floor went dark. It could not trade. And then, of course, after that, the Wall Street Journal had major issues with their website. We walked through these things one after another. How could that? I mean, even mathematically, you don't have to be any kind of nut. You don't have to be any sort of conspiracy theorist to think that maybe these things are connected, Peter.
So let's step back and look at this in isolation. Let's start with United Airlines. So in isolation, you look at 35,000 grounded planes. So what impact does that potentially have? And then you look at the stock exchange halt. When you think about this in isolation and you don't make the leap of faith connection that all three are connected, they individually have impact into what we call cyber economics, right? The manipulation of economics and markets over time. So hackers are running things like a business. So underground networks where they buy and sell malicious code for future attacks. If Harvard had an MBA for hackers, China and other nation states would have them hanging all over the wall. So if you look at what we fail to realize, it's not just an attack, it's a long-term business proposition. They have a business plan similar to the way that we run our businesses and we trade and sell on the New York Stock Exchange.
Kurt, to that point, I want to talk about some of these major attacks, these attacks that people watching this show, households, I think we've got some of them we can actually scroll, have seen over just in the last year. We're talking JP Morgan, 83 million people impacted. Home Depot, 56 million people impacted. Staples, 1.1 million credit cards were breached. Anthem, the healthcare provider, 80 million people impacted. Primera, 11 million people impacted. And those are just some of the larger names. Of course, there were things like the Sony hack. These look like pure cyber crimes. But by the same token, what we saw today, it felt to me perhaps not necessarily a cyber crime, but a cyber warning, the hacktivism things, the things that you get from an anonymous and so forth. What's the danger there for you, and how plausible is it that that's what we saw today?
You know, I'm not even going to give the anonymous, the tweet they put out yesterday saying that, oh, I wonder what's going to happen on the New York Stock Exchange tomorrow. I really am just not going to give that credibility yet. So let's just pull that out of the equation. What I do want to focus in on is the fact that you're right. These three major events happened, and to top that off, at the same time, the Chinese market is absolutely plummeting. But one thing is certain. Because of JP Morgan and Target and all of the companies that have shown us how weak we are in our cyber infrastructure, be it in our financials or be it in our country's strength, I'll tell you right now, I think that actually was a gift to us. I think today we walk away and we say, uh-oh, how is my 401k? Uh-oh, how's my retirement account? But the fact is, we were able to look at the very same time and see that the NASDAQ was unaffected. We were able to say that, you know what? At the end of the day, they got it going again, and my money's still there.